everyone. Welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. We're a little early. We're going to get this out there a little early, but this is going to be our Christmas episode. So if you were with us last year, even if you weren't with us last year, go find this one on Anchor or on Spotify. Apple Podcast, Apple Music, Apple, whatever it is now. They changed the name of it. Or you can go find it. It was one of those ones that doesn't really matter when you listen to it. It was a great one. But what we did is we cast a church Christmas presentation or play with people from the world of sports. There were some really good fun ones. I went back and watched it yesterday, and we forgot all of our good castings that we already did, even though I just watched it yesterday. But they were really good. It was really entertaining. I recommend go watch it. So I think it's a good tradition for us to kind of get into this. So today, Jonathan and I are going to cast a Christmas movie with people from sports. This one was kind of a little different. We chose the movie Elf this go around. What is your thoughts on the movie Elf? Are you a fan of Elf?
Elf is the quintessential Christmas movie. I get into arguments with Amber all the time about whether or not Die Hard and Batman Forever are actually Christmas movies, but Elf is a quintessential Christmas movie, and it's very much what you would expect when you want to watch a Christmas movie. And I will take Elf over any Hallmark movie ever. So yeah.
Over Hallmark. I mean, the Santa Claus is always one that I love. A Christmas Story is another one that I really, really like. Next year, I think A Christmas Carol could be a really fun one to do next year. But going on that one. So we've got Elf.
I was the stage manager for a play for the stage version of A Christmas Carol. I was the stage manager for that during high school.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So you want to start at the top or the bottom?
Well, let's just go top. Top billing. Top billing.
So for top billing, then in this case, we have Buddy the Elf, originally played in the movie by Will Ferrell. Who do you have for Buddy the Elf?
I chose Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, an idyllic, almost innocent person that hasn't quite been crushed by the reality and the media. About 2 years ago, I would have picked probably Giannis. About probably 5-6 years ago, Mike Trout. But the older some of these guys get and the less their teams actually are able to compete, the more grouchy they become. But I like the idea of a really young, innocent guy that is playing really great. Maybe that's the Buddy the Elf that is just this innocent, idyllic person that hasn't been crushed by the real world yet.
So I didn't go with the innocence. I went with who does not care, who's going to be themselves no matter what and doesn't care what anyone thinks about them. That's kind of what I went behind there. So I kept wanting to replace just because I'm not a big fan of this person as it, but I couldn't find it. It's Gronk. Gronk would play Buddy.
Yes, he would.
No, he would absolutely. That's not they're straight up. No, if I think if there was ever going to be a stage performance of this and Gronk's retired and wants to do something else, I think Gronk could actually be cast as Buddy in something. I actually really can see that coming.
It feels like something Gronk would do in a heartbeat. He would be like, yes, I am down.
But yes, that. So, all right, then we're going to go on to Walter. So originally performed by, Buddy's dad, originally performed by James Caan. It's good casting, good performing there. So who do you go ahead and go? Who do you have?
Well, okay, so I went with Gronk's teammate, Tom Brady. In the time of the film, Walter is a legend in his field, but hasn't quite been performing and doesn't seem to have the joy that he once had. And so I went with Tom Brady. Is on the older side of his career, isn't quite able to recapture the magic, keeps trying to bring in big names around him to see if that'll help. And so I really think Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, really fits that role.
All right, that's not bad. The first person that I had it on there forever, was Belichick.
Yeah.
I had Belichick in there, but what I really wanted to kind of get with is I looked at the movie, and the Walter in the end of the movie is redeemed. He redeems himself.
You can't
He
redeem
becomes good.
Belichick.
And so I went there. Now the person I ended up choosing has gotten worse over time. So maybe he's not redeemable. Like there was a time when we looked at him and we were like, you know what? That's just him being him. That's just his quirkiness and his little personality. But the way I look at him now, I'm actually really annoyed. I'm like, no, dude, you're a jerk. Stop being a jerk on some of this stuff. He hasn't really changed, but it's become way less endearing. So I've got Pop.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Greg Popovich. Yeah.
Greg Popovich, like I said, he's gotten worse. So maybe he's not redeemable if we want to go that way. But at least that's the way I look at it. Like there was a time I thought Pop's antics were cute and clever and fun. And maybe it's because they haven't won. But even when they were winning the last championship, it's like you're doing this to be mean. Like you're maybe filling a character, but now you're doing things to be mean. You're treating reporters like garbage because you can.
Yeah, I really hope with how young that team is getting, maybe a young non-competing team that he's just trying to build up, maybe he'll get into maybe a more joyful version of those antics, hopefully. But yeah, that's a good casting there.
All right, Papa Elf. Who did you have? Originally performed by Bob Newhart, the late Bob Newhart, I believe. He died, I think, earlier this year, I think. Fantastic actor. If you haven't watched a lot of the stuff from old Bob Newhart things, if you only knew him for the stuff that he did as old Bob Newhart, go to YouTube, go find stuff. Bob Newhart was amazing.
Oh yeah. So I felt like it's needed to be an older guy that won't admit something is wrong with their adoptive son. And the name that came to mind is Frank Gore. Obviously, there is something wrong with Sam Darnold, but Frank Gore is like the consummate professional with this. And Frank Gore has been, he's just this older, lovable. You can't not love Frank Gore as a running back at his age, still doing what he's done after tearing all the ligaments and all of the stuff. Just still going out there and doing it for a terrible Jets team and still wanting to be involved and refusing to be a problem in that locker room. So Frank Gore was the first name that came to mind with that.
So this one I went back and forth with for a little bit. I decided him actually relatively quickly, but mostly it was because I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I went back and forth trying to figure out who the best person was for this. And I came on to Herm Edwards.
Okay.
Herm Edwards is so somewhat you kind of went with Gore. Like if you ever listen to Herm Edwards or back when he used to tweet, he was the most positive person you would ever see. Like everything he drew was positive. At the same time, he has that kind of goofy delivery sometimes that Bob Newhart kind of brings in there. I mean, hello, you play to win the game.
Yeah.
You play to win the game. Like that's over the top, like goofy delivery. But Herm is this constant positive role model. He's constantly encouraging everyone. As a GCU fan, one of our biggest rivals, not rivals, is ASU. Like we don't mind the school down south. We don't mind U of A, but we really don't like ASU. And when I found out that he was going to be the coach of ASU, I was very frustrated because I was like, ASU, they don't deserve a guy that good. They don't deserve Herm Edwards for that. But Herm Edwards is such a fantastic person going that. So he's the perfect, I think, Pop Elf.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, Santa Claus.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I had a lot of trouble with Santa Claus.
Edward Asner was the played Santa Claus in the movie.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of trouble figuring out who to go with for Santa Claus here because and we talked about this a little bit before recording. Santa Claus is a tertiary character, but it almost has to be played by a big name. And my thought process was Santa Claus is this legendary character that is struggling with people believing he is what he says he is. And is kind of having to rely on other people now. And the name that comes to mind is LeBron James. LeBron James is this great legend, and certain people that may be on this call seem to try to tear down anyone's belief in their legitimacy of that legend. And I think he would be a perfect casting for it. He's even starting to get a little gray on the beard just as it goes towards that.
Remind me of a take off camera. Yeah, no. So, unlike Jonathan, I did this correctly. I actually found someone who is universally beloved. I remember saying earlier this year, actually, but Facebook reminds me of a tweet share that I shared on our Facebook page. It actually spelt wrong. I made a mistake in it. But I'm constantly getting reminders. Hey, do you want to spend money to like promote this thing? But so it's kind of weird. So I get reminded of it constantly. But yeah, I have a spelling error in it. So that's why I haven't promoted it. But there's only one person to play Santa. Vin Scully.
Oh,
Vin
that's
Scully
good. That's a good pick. That's a better pick.
Universally beloved. Again, if you have a problem, you have anything negative to say about Vin Scully, I will fight you. I hate the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers with everything I am. If you say something negative about Vin Scully, I will fight you. I will lose. I'm not a good fighter, but I will fight you. Like Vin Scully is but at the same time, he doesn't have to be there. He's so good at making things not about him. And that's kind of that role of Santa in this movie. It wasn't about Santa. Santa was not the main character. Santa was a very supporting character who was supposed to build up others. That's the entire purpose of that character. And he does that so well, and that's what Vin Scully did. Vin Scully made you more interested in the game. You didn't tune in to listen to Vin Scully, but you turned in to listen to the game because of how good Vin Scully made what you were watching. And which I think we lose a lot of announcers have kind of lost that. Even other good announcers that we like and enjoying. But yeah, Vin Scully was fantastic and amazing. So yeah, that's why I had to go Vin Scully.
Oh, for sure. I like that a lot. Do we want to move? We want to move on to Emily, the stepmom for Buddy.
The stepmom, Mary Steenburgen, who's in a number of Will Ferrell movies.
Yes, she is. So her character in this movie embodies this kind of through everything. We are going to make this a friendship that works. Just the way she embraces Buddy, almost from the get-go, and tries to take care of him. And the first name that came to mind for me was Doris Burke, name drop queen, with everything that she ever does in any announcing. It is always my good friend tells personal anecdote about this player, tells another personal anecdote about this player. She is like the name drop queen. And so I felt like I almost had to choose Doris Burke here.
I really thought we were going to have the same person here. We didn't. So for those of you that don't know, so we both got to submit. We've got an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheets thing that's blacked out. So I've got all of the answers, but I don't know who anyone picked beforehand. I really felt like we're going to have the same person. Just because the information about this person, you've been the one who've given me most of the information about this person. I've like looked it up and verified, but I've got Maya Moore.
Oh, that would be great.
Because when someone, I mean, everything there, she's so focused on giving up everything. And Emily in this is so focused on she gives up everything. She makes so many sacrifices. When Buddy makes breakfast, a syrup-filled spaghetti. I don't care how much I as the work and stuff that I do through churches and stuff with kids. I love kids and I would do most anything for any of the kids that I work with. You know, one thing I won't do, if they make me sugar spaghetti for breakfast, I'm not eating it with a smile. It's not happening. And she eats it with a smile. She does this thing. She goes out of her way to make sure everyone is good. She sacrifices of herself. And Maya Moore was the first person that really kind of came to that of like, no, this is someone who put aside her entire career to believe in someone who no one else believed in. Man was in jail for murder.
I can't remember what the charges were. I just know she's fought it.
Got significant criminal charges. This guy was convicted of that. Now she saw that, no, this isn't right. There's a wrongful conviction here. Gave up playing NBA. Now WNBA, we can debate whether or not, hey, how much was she actually giving up? But no, she gave up her lifelong dream to do something else. And then she married the guy. Like, yeah. Maya Moore.
Maya Moore is a fantastic role model. She's definitely the best role model on this list by far, in my opinion. I think that's a great casting. That's a great choice.
Jovi, played by Zooey Deschanel, which I always forget that. I mean, like, as soon as you see it, you remember it is. Maybe it's the blonde hair.
I think it's the blonde. You
forget it's Zoe. You're like, oh, that's right, it's Zoe. That and like, maybe like, okay, because the part of her character is that she sings really well. And Zooey Deschanel, like, she'll sing in other things, but typically it's like, it's because she's goofy and wild and is like, doesn't care that she sounds funny. Like Jet and New Girl, like, no, she sounds kind of different. She's got a different sound, but like that. So maybe that's just kind of a weird spot, but this was the hardest one for me to cast of anybody. But
okay, who do you have? Who do
you
have?
Mine. So I had to think and bring it. Someone else brought up a figure skater.
Okay.
And I didn't go with the figure skater they brought up because I actually so I went with Tara Lipinski. I may be slightly dating myself here, but I remember the Olympics. Now, do you remember much of the Olympics that she won?
Little bits of it. Just and honestly, my brain had to really turn to remember who that was.
So she does commentary now, but I went back to her Olympics. So that Olympics, everything was about Michelle Kwan. All of the thing, and there was this younger girl who made it as well, Tara Lipinski, who had a shot at a medal. Like, she did good well, but but this is the Michelle Kwan show. The focus was all there, and so Tara was kind of just like in Michelle Kwan's shadow along for the ride. And I think that's Jovi's kind of entire character is she doesn't. Part of it is she maybe doesn't want to be noticed, or she doesn't think she deserves to get noticed. And I think that's kind of that's the Jovi character is this. I don't think Buddy starts giving her attention and it immediately makes her uncomfortable. And so, but in the end, she ends up, winning all the prize, getting everything. And Tara Lipinski won the gold that year. And I thought that was kind of that. I was like, that's the person. She's also got probably the figure skater. They've got the kind of at least appearance of a bubbly personality.
Yeah.
I've known a number of figure skaters. A lot of it, yes, it is just an appearance. I've never met Tara Lipinski, but she at least has that appearance of a bubbly personality, a lot like Jovi does. That it took me a bit, but that's who I got. Who did you have?
Okay, so this was hard because you almost can't think of anyone but Zooey Deschanel playing this character, just because it almost feels like it was just perfect casting. So I had to think of like who has a really bubbly personality, who has a really who is that kind of also that big of a star to hold down that role. And I ended up having to think.
Wasn't a star yet when this movie took place. Zooey Deschanel was nobody when this movie happened.
Oh, that might be fair, but I went with arguably the most famous female athlete on the planet right now. And I went with Simone Biles. Another Olympic gymnastics, big personality. Everyone really likes her. and I think she's going to have a good career outside of sports just because of her personality as well. So unfortunately, the career life of a gymnastics competitor is not very long. So I'm glad that she has that other personality and other career choices she can continue to go with.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. All right, so Michael, the little brother, I had to make that in there when I first looked, and then on his IMDb page, he's not in much. This is Daniel Tay. He's not in much. He actually doesn't even have an image next to his profile on IMDb. So this was kind of a different one. It took me a minute or so, but I think I found it. But who do you have?
I went with the best little brother I could think of in sports, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is trying to do his own thing, but kind of stuck in a big brother's shadow. The whole movie is how Michael sits there, is kind of stuck in the big brother's shadow the whole movie. I think LaMelo will be stuck in Lonzo's shadow for a while. I don't know. I feel like Lonzo's going to have a breakout year this year, and I think LaMelo's going to struggle a little bit because LaMelo's on a really, really bad team, like a really bad team. So yeah. But shout out to LaMelo. I almost went with Gillo, like the middle there, but I felt like that was too much of a stretch.
So this is my one hockey take on the page or on during this one. This is my one hockey player. It's also a local player, so you may not have seen this if you are a hockey fan, if you weren't an Avalanche person. But I went with Cale Makar, this past year's Rookie of the Year. Partially I went with hockey in this position because, as I said, this actor is kind of like unknown. Really, he's been in a few things, but he really hasn't done much. So hockey felt like a good thing. And if you watched any many Avalanche games this year, Cale, despite being Rookie of the Year, was absolutely everyone's little brother on the team's little brothers. So he kept trying to step out and make a name for himself and fight his own battles, and the rest of the team flat out wouldn't let him. There were other times when people would lay a cheap shot. Now, part of it, you don't hit the rookie. There were times where people lay a cheap shot on Cale, and then immediately the rest of the team, like Nathan McKinnon, the Avs' best player, who isn't really known as a fighter. Someone laid a dirty-ish hit on Cale, and McKinnon just came and just obliterated the guy, cleaned his clock. So there's a little bit of that, but then he also is trying to be like, no, I can handle myself, guys. So he starts shoving down, and
basically the snowball fight scene.
Little bit of that, but then literally like he's like, I can handle myself, I can do it there. But literally, one of the other cases is almost like Gabe Landeskog, the cat, nearly grabs him, moves him out of the way, no, you're not fighting him. And then he starts going through and just laying in and laying hands and throwing down. So he's when I thought of who's the best little brother right now in sports, little brother, that's going to go through. Again, watch hockey. It's fun. But all right, next character we have the Gimbals manager, Frazion Love, who I wonder, was he a former football player? I know
I feel like he's played former football players and other things I've seen.
But I think he may have. Okay, that size, that boy had to play in college at least.
Yeah.
But, so who did you have for the Gimbals manager?
I have a little bit of a weird take. Steve Nash.
Okay.
Steve Nash thinks he signed on to be Brooklyn's head coach. He thinks he signed on to be Brooklyn's head coach. But we all know that everything is actually going to be done with the guy that is slightly neurotic and doesn't understand geography. And just like Buddy doesn't understand how the world works, Kyrie Irving doesn't understand the world is round. And has already straight up said that he thinks he is in charge. So it's going to be a really interesting year in Brooklyn with that.
Up to this point, I think I've stayed more on the positive side of things. So the guy I've got he's retired a few years ago. I've got Joe Thomas.
That's
The
just a
lineman,
great character. Like that.
lineman.
That's just a great personality.
Well, for him, it was more of just when I think about his time on the Browns team, everything is blowing up around him. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong. And yet he's just there, like doing the best he can, doing well. And I feel like the Gimbals manager is doing well, but there's all this stuff that's happening outside of his control that he has no idea what's going on. There are people from one direction pulling him one way. He's being pulled another direction from another side. And he just kind of hangs on and just continues to lead. That's the other side. Like when Buddy Elf goes back. So I actually watched this movie as I was doing this casting. And like when Buddy comes back, he's filled in and he is being Santa. He is being Santa in Gimbals because he's got to. Someone's got to do the job, and so he's doing the job. So that's why I've got Joe Thomas there. He just kind of rolls with the punches in a horrible situation and just keeps going.
Yeah, that's a good pick. By the way, Joe Thomas jacked out of his mind now that he's not having to like live like an O lineman.
Oh yeah.
He was on the Titan games this last season. Dude is doing very well for himself in a post-playing career.
Yeah. Offensive linemen are really fun. If you ever get a chance to see offensive line, if there's ever an autograph,
they are the best people to hang out with.
Well, they're the best people, but if there's ever an autograph session, go and look at them because it's really funny that those are guys you no longer recognize as athletes. Often because you sit there and look at them and like, so running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers gain weight. Linemen lose like 100 pounds. It's crazy. But yeah, anyway, so next one of the most iconic characters I feel like, now granted it's the actor who plays him that makes him super iconic. Miles Finch, Peter Dinklage. Who did you have for there? I've got a little bit, which if he ever sees this podcast, he might get mad at us and tell us to take it down for mine. But you go ahead and go to yours first.
Okay. So obviously this character is known mostly for being short. So I decided to go with someone who is known mostly for being short. Also, Miles Finch, the moment things start to not go his way, he kind of pitches a temper tantrum and basically quits and runs off. So we did have a short person who, when stuff didn't go their way, decided he wasn't even going to watch his team's games once he went on IR. Tariq Cohen. So, and in all fairness to Miles Finch and Tariq Cohen, both of those work environments did not feel very well structured. Sorry, Bears fans. But I think it's kind of hilarious. He has his big storming out, and we have the point that Tariq Cohen is literally tweeting that he can't even watch his team play on TV.
All right, so mine, I said this one could get us this one could get an angry storm. I went with a couple different directions. I've got Aaron Rodgers in here. So Aaron Rodgers is average height. I've actually met Aaron Rodgers. He's average height. He's tall, much taller than I am, but I'm very short. He's average height, but he is incredibly sensitive about his height. There have been a number of cases of reporters just mentioning that, hey, you're not the biggest guy out there on the field, because he's not. Like, he's not. I think he's like 6'2", 6'3". Like, he's not.
Which is pretty much average for a quarterback.
He's average for a quarterback, but they're just literally saying like, hey, you know, these other giant guys, you're not one of them. And he gets ticked. Like, that's the few times where he goes, there's a number of stuff. If you get a chance, Google Aaron Rodgers being sensitive about his height. It's funny. So he's incredibly sensitive, but he sees it one of those guys. So I looked at the character beyond just the height thing. He was incredibly arrogant. Miles Finch, incredibly arrogant. He held through, and we actually go through and see he's ripping. The other authors bring up an idea. They bring up an idea of what they need to do and how what of their story idea, and he immediately tells them it's the stupidest idea imaginable for all of these different reasons. And then they find his notebook and they look at his notebook. He literally has the same idea as they have. So he's incredibly arrogant, but at the same time, he doesn't really, he may not actually like have it all. He just has the persona about him. And I feel like as good as Aaron Rodgers has been, now granted, we can say that there's other, other factors in there, coaching factors, whatever.
Look, anyone who has to play for Mike McCarthy,
he's won one.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
He's been to one Super Bowl, and what? Look, like
if you drag Mike McCarthy's behind to a Super Bowl win, all the credit in the world.
He's given this.
I will say this: don't they make a big deal about? Don't they make a big deal in the movie about Miles Finch just doesn't make mistakes, which would make sense because Aaron Rodgers has the lowest interception rate for a career and a season.
Well, I think another portion. I think the whole thing is he doesn't take chances. He can do amazing things last minute. They bring him in to do something last minute. I mean, there's a bunch of little things. I just really like the Aaron Rodgers thing, but yeah, I kind of focused a lot on that. No, I think Rodgers has that. Anytime people question him, he gets very upset. He can also be an incredibly fun person to be around. I said that one time I've met him, he joked like I was working a door at the Final Four, and he met in there. He was leaving. He left early for something. He sits there and I was saying the same thing to everybody. It was between games that, the smoking section's over there. You can exit this door. You cannot come back in. If you leave, you can't come back. I'm saying the entire thing. I've got no voice. I was recovering from a really bad lost my voice entirely. So I'm just saying the same thing over and over. And then I hear this guy go, this is where I go to smoke? And I go, oh, no, smoking section. He goes, oh, I'm just playing with you. And he taps me on the chest. And I look up, it's Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, oh,
that's kind of cool.
Have a good season, sir. So yeah, like I've met him. So he can be that, but he's also got this thing. Anytime someone questions anything about him, he's incredibly defensive and arrogant about it. So that's kind of what with that one.
Hey, speaking of arrogant and kind of petty people, let's go on to the CEO, Fulton.
Yeah.
The CEO. Yeah, who have you got for that?
Yeah, Michael Lerner is in there. I had to remember. So this is the guy. This is Walter's boss. I couldn't remember immediately when I looked it up. So I was trying to think of bosses who haven't really done much, who haven't really other things there. So I had to go with Daniel Snyder. Like, I know it's like I really have not. There's really nothing extra to say. Just like. Pick owner of sports team who is not very successful and is constantly. I was thinking of someone who's making changes constantly, is micromanaging little things. So I went with Daniel Snyder.
Yeah, I went with people who get rid of people out of pettiness, and so I have a feeling you know where this is going. Bill O'Brien, his pettiness gets rid of people out of pettiness, and it is ultimately led to his downfall.
Well, and I will say this, but one of the interesting things about the character is we actually don't know what happens to him in the story. That we don't know if this company, because here's the other thing, the Walter that he had was not good. So firing him maybe really wasn't actually that petty. Like, hey man, and then we put a lot of like blame. He forced him to work on credit. He printed an incomplete garbage book with his signature and like approval. Like that's what they did. Like saying, hey man, I need you to fix this. I know it's Christmas Eve, but you messed up and I need you to fix this. He's not really that much of a bad guy.
Maybe.
Like,
He's
really that much of a bad guy?
You know what? Bill O'Brien is that much of a bad guy. I apologize for making the overbearing owner compared to Bill O'Brien. Because Bill O'Brien is that much of a bad guy.
There are a few characters that I expected that you could have picked Bill O'Brien on. All right. We're going to hit these next two simultaneously. It's Morris and Eugene. They were the in-house authors, the best authors that he had.
Yes.
Andy Richter and Kyle Glass played them. So who did you have? They're kind of the same character. That's why we're going to kind of do them twice. So who did you have?
And I, for the same reasons, I have Adam Gase. How does this dude have a job? From the Jets, and then also Brandon Hyde from the Baltimore Orioles. I think they're two people that are obviously the worst coaches in their leagues. I don't think they deserve jobs at all. And yeah, I think they should both be fired. And I felt that way about both in-house authors that, like you said, sent in incomplete book.
Well, no, they didn't send in the incomplete book. Like the book was finished. And then remember, he approved a book that was missing pages.
Yeah.
That was the Walter set. So I kind of went with the same kind of thing. I said, I see them as the same, they're the same people. So I've got the thing. So I have Mike McCarthy and Jason Garrett. They are both yes men for the owner. And they were brought in as yes men. And they're the same thing. And the record proves that they're the same thing. It was a complete lateral move. Cowboys fans are really, we're bringing in this guy. It's the same. He's the same guy. He's the same thing. They're literally the same.
Yep. That's fair.
So yeah, going through there. All right. So then our next character we've got here, we have the Gimbals. We have Fake Santa. Fake Santa is our next character.
The quote from Buddy is, "You sit on a throne of lies."
You don't smell like Santa. You smell like beef cheese.
Yeah. Yeah. You sit on a throne of lies. And so I have a feeling we're probably going in the same direction here.
You're not going to like my
this year, 2020, has not been a good year to be a Houston sports fan, because as much joy that Buddy has that Santa is coming, that is the type of joy I had in 2017 watching my Houston Astros win a World Series. But then some stuff comes out about trash cans that maybe makes me think maybe they sit on a throne of lies. And so as much as I want to put the blame at the guy who actually did it, and that would be Carlos Beltran, I did pick Jose Altuve because he was the face of the team. And so, yes, Jose Altuve, it stops with you.
Suffered a lot when the trash cans went away.
Yeah, now he also was hurt. So there is that. And Jose Altuve is the only person who has refused to admit he was involved with any of the trash can stuff, and everyone else on the team keeps refusing to admit he did anything with it. But like you said, the numbers are looking like something was way up.
Yeah. I had Altuve here at one point. I mean, there are a number of cases where you could put Altuve as far as the whole height thing. But so I went with.
I think last year we had him cast as Baby Jesus.
It was some of you did, yeah. I've got Barry Bonds here for almost the same reason. You sit on a throne of lies. You're a fake imposter of something else. You're not real. You're pretending to be something you're not.
Could you have chose someone who the numbers before and after cheating were a little bit more different than Barry Bonds?
No,
like Gonzalez. That man hit like 7 home runs ever, and then all of a sudden has a 50 home run season in 2000.
No, but if we're gonna, who's the poster child for steroids?
Rafael Palmeiro.
Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is the poster child for steroids. He may not be it's Barry Bonds. I know you think it's Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Baseball's Hall of Fame is a joke, and it is why the sport is continuing to spiral into irrelevancy. It's
a symptom. It's not the reason. But yeah, no, Barry Bonds, you sit on a throne of lies. You are not the home run king. It's still Hank Aaron. Everyone knows it's Hank Aaron.
Disagree.
But all right. Leon the Snowman is our next character here.
Oh, yes.
Leon Redbone. I mean, they didn't even try to really hide that. Leon Redbone was the actor who played him. Who do you have here?
So Leon's whole character is there to kind of make sense of the chaos for Buddy. And so I went with someone who has to make sense of a lot of chaos. And I said Ernie Johnson from the NBA on TNT crew. His job is basically to mediate Chuck and Shaq, and maybe bring some sort of sense of normalcy to it. I think if you were to actually cast this with sports personalities, he has to be the number one person that almost everyone thinks of
with the voice
for that role.
Like, because that's the thing is he was the voice only. It's that yeah, I'll give you that. I went with something similar. Who has to like always make things around. I actually picked this guy, and then I continued to watch the rest of it, and it even lined up even more perfectly. I've got Larry Fitzgerald, who has gone through and done everything, but it got even more confirmed when Buddy was talking to Santa about what Leon said. And he's saying, well, Leon's been everywhere and seen everything. And Santa goes, he has no feet. He hasn't been anywhere. Larry Fitzgerald has feet, but he's only ever played for the Cardinals. So he hasn't actually been anywhere. He's only ever been in one state, one team. So that I kind of went with that. But yeah, he's also that wise older presence to pour into anything else. Who, again, he's another one of those people that if you speak ill of Larry Fitzgerald, like you can hate the Cardinals as much as you want. Yeah. You speak ill of Larry Fitzgerald, we gonna fight.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna lose, but we're still gonna fight. Yes. So our next character we have, so this is kind of a different one. The character of Ming Ming, and you may be watching this and you were like, who is Ming Ming? So the head elf in charge of the toys, which again, you're like, that was kind of a weird character. Why are you going that? Well, the person who played that character was Peter Billingsley, which is, again, you also sit there and be like, who was Peter Billingsley? That's not that common. He was Ralphie in A Christmas Story. They cast him in this movie because of the nostalgia for Christmas.
Yes.
So this is the nostalgia pick. Who plays the nostalgia pick where you watch and you see it and you're like, oh, that's where he is. I'm so happy to see him. Who do you have here?
I have Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols? All right. I like it.
I have Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols is the slowest player in professional sports at this point.
Are there any Molinas left?
Yachty is left, but Yachty is faster than Albert at this point.
I don't know. I had some friends who used to have a joke that you measure slowness in Molinas.
That is fair. Benji was absolutely the slowest thing ever. But Albert actually by metrics, they measure the slowest players. And the past 3 or 4 years, it has been Albert. And Albert is there for one reason and one reason alone. Albert is there to try to pass Barry. I don't think he's going to get there.
Well, he's there to try. He's still somewhat healthy. And as long as he continues to play, he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, he will not. He's not leaving that on the table at all. He's not going to leave that money on the table at all. And he is out there solely to try to pass Barry. And he is definitely a nostalgia for when he was younger, for sure.
So mine, partially, and I think it kind of fits though with the whole nostalgia thing. Mine is a pretty homer take. So I was thinking of who are old players from my childhood, people that I really just like. When I see, I get excited. Maybe partially because I don't see him all the time. So not like a John Elway thing, who I see John Elway, mentioned all the time. I went with Terrell Davis.
Okay.
There were a few other Broncos I considered. Todd Helton was another one I considered. Vinny Castilla, Dante Bichette, a few of those other guys from my childhood I thought about going with. But yeah, I went with Terrell Davis. Just that person you see and you're like, oh, it's TD. Smile. I'm happy. Cool. I'm happy he's doing things.
Who was it that announced their retirement today that hasn't played in like 4 years?
I didn't see this.
LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, yeah.
LeGarrette Blount announced he was retiring today. That type of person.
I don't know. Not so much that. It's just more of that because, I don't have overly fond memories of LeGarrette Blount.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah.
That's, I mean, I'm going with the nostalgia thing. Is, and who do I have fond memories of that I see? Yay! Look at him. He's doing things. That's good.
Yeah.
So the last character we've got is a totally uncredited character. I can't find anything on IMDb about him. And it's a very minor character. He's got one line in the movie, but it's a really iconic line. It's one of those things. If I ask you right now to quote a line from Elf, you might give me the best way to spread Christmas cheer. You might give me that one. You might give me the throne of lies.
No, I'm giving you one quote, and it is, "Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad."
That's going to be one of the top 5 you're going to give me a minute. All right, bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. That's mine. It's Mr. Narwhal. Again, I've looked on IMDb. I don't see Mr. Narwhal listed as a character. And Buddy goes, "Thanks, Mr. Narwhal," and that's it. So it's this. He doesn't really do anything, but he's incredibly well known, incredibly well there. So who do you have going on here?
Doesn't do much, incredibly well known, overly loved by people. It's Taco Fall. I could have gone with your favorite bowl here, but it's Taco Fall. No one loves people that do nothing like Celtics fans and Taco Fall.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's not bad. I forgot who I have actually. Oh, Eli Manning. Yeah.
Oh, no, come on.
No. It's this whole thing. He's really not done. Like, you look at his career, you're like, man, you haven't really wow, you're like an average player. You were like the most average player imaginable. Wait, you've got 2 rings and you beat the Patriots twice?
I'm gonna be honest. I almost had Eli as fake Santa.
You're just like,
almost had Eli as fake Santa.
Wait, you did what? What just happened? Like, it's incredibly memorable. And the cast
definitely did nothing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally forgot Eli Manning. Yeah, but no, Eli Manning is just that spot where you're just kind of like, he hasn't really done anything except for the 2 big things that he's done, and just out of nowhere just popped up. And again, like Mr. Narwhal, doesn't really do anything except shows up at one point, one little moment, and just goes, "Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad." And that's just it. Move on, and then we move on, just like Eli did. Eli goes, he wins World Super Bowl, and we're like, what just happened? Eli just won Super. Oh, okay, cool. He certainly played like a goat. That no, he actually didn't play like he played okay. Oh,
hey, whoever the uncredited person for Mr. Narwhal, flawless line delivery. So
I wonder if it was it? I wonder if it was Will Ferrell.
It probably was someone else on set that also had another. It would not be surprising if it was Will Ferrell.
If you've got that, like I said, IMDb didn't have it, at least when I looked yesterday. Maybe I missed it. I'm known to miss things.
You know what? I'm going to Google it real quick and we'll see. Who plays Mr. Oh, Jon Favreau, the director. Okay, that makes sense.
And actually, you know what? That's perfect because truthfully, like, your favorite, everything that you love, everything that, like, the goodness of everything right now in the world is like Loki. But he like doesn't like scream, "Look at me, pay attention to me," everything. But you know what? He's responsible for like all of the goodness right now in Hollywood and television and media. Like, he's low-key behind it all.
Yep, The Mandalorian, a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Again, this movie, yeah, Elf. We all think, oh man, Elf, that's that Will Ferrell thing. Whatever. Jon Favreau is the director. Jon Favreau made this movie. Like, fantastic. But you list, anytime people talk, so who's the best director around? They're not going to mention Jon Favreau. That's the most perfect casting. I'm trying to remember if he actually, you know what, he played in sports movies. Oh, did Jon Favreau ever do anything sports? Because if Jon Favreau ever does anything sports, I'm changing my pick.
He did play the guy that tried to be the ultimate fighter in Friends.
Yes.
His character in Friends, like, basically almost dies in the ring.
Did he ever play sports? If he ever played sports, Dang it, I don't think he had sports.
I am not sure.
Darn it.
I don't think so. But we'll come back to that if it ends up true. We'll do something next year. You can cast him as something
did
when
not.
we do this next year.
He didn't. He was always an actor, comedian.
All right.
I just look at the body shape. Like, the guy totally could have played linebacker at some point. Like,
Yeah.
in some small school, but yeah, I don't believe he did. He
Doesn't
attended
appear so.
acting schools, Queens College. Yeah.
Well,
All right, but anyone that? So yeah, that is us sports. If you've got a different cast, if you've got someone else, shoot us a thing on Twitter. Let us know. Facebook, comment on the YouTube page. Let us know who else you think there. If we missed something, if you've got a better person to cast, there's a very good chance there is a better person to cast than we've put anything else there. Anything before we leave?
no, guys, have a Merry Christmas, and we will catch you guys later on.
All righty, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.